For decades, China was the undisputed manufacturing capital of the world, the place where everything from your smartphone to your sneakers got made. This manufacturing dominance transformed China from a struggling developing nation into the world's second largest economy with a GDP of $19.2 trillion. But in 2025, something fundamental is breaking down. The factories that once hummed with endless activity are going quiet. Foreign companies are scrambling to get out, and China's greatest economic achievement, its manufacturing sector, is facing what can only be described as an existential crisis. And here's the thing, this is a massive problem for the CCP because, as you probably already know, no company is truly private in China. Oh no. The CCP have their hands in every single jar. That means when we buy Chinese-made products, we are basically funding Xi Jinping's regime that he then uses to bully countries around the world and threaten places like Taiwan. The warning signs are everywhere if you know where to look. And let me tell you, they're not pretty. China's manufacturing sector, which used to represent 32% of GDP back in 2011, has collapsed to just 25% today. That's not some gradual economic evolution. That's industrial decline, plain and simple. Sure, August 2025 saw a brief uptick in the Purchasing Managers' Index to 50.3, but that's like putting a Band-Aid on a severed artery. This temporary improvement masks a much deeper structural collapse that the CCP desperately wants to hide from the world. The retail sales numbers are absolutely brutal, growing by a pathetic 2.7% in July, missing forecasts by a wide margin. Industrial output is limping along at 5.1% growth, which is a far cry from the pre-pandemic rates of 6 to 8% that China had grown accustomed to. But here's the most alarming part. Corporate profits are in complete freefall. June saw a devastating 4.3% drop in profits, following an even worse 9.1% decline in May. The first half of 2025 recorded a cumulative 3.5% profit decline across Chinese manufacturing. These are not just statistical blips that the CCP can spin away. They represent a fundamental breakdown of the economic model that made China rich in the first place. Today, 30% of industrial firms are operating at a loss. That's worse than during the 1998 Asian financial crisis. Factory capacity utilization has plummeted to pandemic-era lows, and producer prices continue to fall, creating a deflationary spiral that economists warn could drag on for years. Perhaps nothing shows just how bad China's manufacturing crisis has become better than watching major international companies pack up and leave. Apple's massive pivot to India represents one of the most significant manufacturing shifts in modern history, and it's a direct slap in the face to Xi Jinping's regime. By mid-2025, Indian factories were producing the majority of iPhones destined for the United States market, with India's Apple output reaching $22 billion, while China's share dropped 15-20% annually. Now, this isn't just about trade wars or tariffs. It's about companies finally recognizing that China is no longer the manufacturing paradise it once pretended to be. A massive $100 billion U.S. chip investment announced in August 2025 further undermines China's position in the global supply chain. Utilization rates at China's Apple manufacturing plants have dropped by 10%, leaving these massive facilities operating like industrial ghost towns. It's honestly pretty satisfying to watch the CCP's grip on global manufacturing slip away. Amazon's withdrawal has been equally dramatic and brutal for China. The e-commerce giant slashed Q4 2025 orders from China and Southeast Asia, stranding billions of dollars in inventory as tariffs spiked to 145% in April, before settling at 30%. Chinese sellers have been forced to increase prices by 20 to 30% or abandon the United States market entirely, with many resorting to desperate illegal schemes like under-declaring product values simply to evade duties. The shift is accelerating toward alternative manufacturing hubs at breakneck speed. Sourcing to Mexico, India, and Vietnam surged by 25%, systematically dismantling China's 40% grip on Amazon's global inventory. Videos circulating on social media with titles like "Chaos in China" amplify the sense of panic as major brands abandon what was once considered the most reliable manufacturing base in the world. But here is where it gets really scary for the CCP. Listen up. Underneath China's manufacturing crisis lies an even more dangerous threat: a debt bubble of absolutely unprecedented proportions. Get this, China's total non-financial debt has reached a staggering 312% of GDP. Can I say that again? 312% of GDP? This is creating a financial monster that threatens to devour the entire economy. Local government financing vehicles alone hold $9 trillion in debt. That's more than half of China's entire GDP. Let that sink in for a moment. This debt addiction has become the only thing keeping China's manufacturing sector on life support. Government deficits have ballooned to an insane 8 to 9% of GDP just to maintain 5% economic growth. That's a clearly unsustainable equation where China is spending nearly twice as much as it gains. Each won of new debt now generates less than 0.51 of economic output, which suggests that the country has passed the point of diminishing returns on its debt-fueled growth model. The manufacturing sector has become particularly dependent on government subsidies, some estimates suggesting that 20% of operations rely on state support. Without this artificial life support from the CCP, many of China's factories would have already closed their doors. The government's strategy of propping up zombie firms to avoid mass unemployment has only delayed the inevitable reckoning while making the eventual collapse even more severe. Even if China could somehow magically solve its massive debt problems and somehow win back foreign companies, which is a big if, an enormous if, it still faces an absolutely insurmountable demographic challenge that the CCP has no answer for. Yep, China's population. It's aging rapidly. The median age already approaching 40 years old. The country now has 22.5 retirees for every 100 working-age people. The United Nations projects this nightmare scenario will rise to 51 retirees per 100 workers by 2050, and that is an economic death spiral. Meanwhile, China's total population is actually shrinking. The country lost 1.39 million people in 2024 due to plummeting birth rates. This decline is accelerating every year. For manufacturing, this creates the perfect storm. Fewer workers available for factory jobs, just as wages are rising rapidly. Chinese manufacturing wages more than doubled from 46,000 won in 2013 to 108,000 won in 2023. 3 years ago, surveys found that 80% of Chinese manufacturers face labor shortages ranging from 10 to 30% of their needed workforce. The Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security warns that total labor shortages could reach 30 million people this year, making matters even worse for the CCP. Younger Chinese workers increasingly reject factory jobs, 60% now enrolled in higher education, and seeking white-collar office careers that the economy simply cannot provide. So, as China struggles and the CCP scrambles for solutions, other countries are seizing the opportunity to capture global manufacturing market share, and it's China's worst nightmare coming true. India leads this charge with a working-age population of 961 million people compared to China's 858 million, and manufacturing wages up to 7 times cheaper than China's. Apple's massive success in India proves that complex, high-value manufacturing can be successfully relocated away from the CCP's control. Vietnam has emerged as perhaps the most successful China alternative, with 7.1% GDP growth in 2024, double the regional average. Global giants like Samsung, Nvidia, and Google have established major operations in Vietnam, attracted by lower costs and political neutrality. Vietnam's balanced approach to both export manufacturing and domestic consumption offers a much more sustainable growth model than China's export-dependent strategy. Mexico benefits from geographic proximity to the U.S. market through the USMCA agreement, offering 20 to 30% lower wages than China, plus tariff-free access to American consumers. Major automakers, including Ford, Toyota, BMW, have relocated significant production to Mexico as part of the nearshoring trend that prioritizes supply chain security over absolute cost minimization. China's current trajectory bears striking and terrifying similarities to Japan's economic stagnation back in the 1990s. Both countries experienced rapid manufacturing-led growth, followed by asset bubble collapses, aging populations, and rising competition from lower-cost neighbors. Japan's manufacturing output never again reached its 1995 peak, and its economy entered what economists call the lost decades of minimal growth. China faces many of the same structural challenges that derailed Japan: deflation, over-leveraged corporations, demographic decline, and geopolitical tensions with its largest export market. The key difference is that China may be entering this stagnation phase at a much lower level of economic development than Japan ever achieved. Let's face it, China's manufacturing empire was built on unique historical circumstances that no longer exist: cheap labor, geopolitical cooperation, and access to global markets. As these advantages disappear, China faces a stark choice: accept a diminished role in global manufacturing or double down on state intervention that could accelerate the crisis. But here's the real problem for Xi Jinping and the CCP. Their legitimacy rests entirely on delivering prosperity to the Chinese people. If manufacturing continues to decline and unemployment rises, the social contract between the government and citizens could face unprecedented strain, and when that happens, the CCP historically becomes even more repressive and even more aggressive. Some analysts argue that Xi Jinping could attack Taiwan when times get really tough for him, just to rally national support and distract from the economic chaos at home. However, an economic crisis would also affect what China could actually do on the military front, potentially making such desperate moves even more catastrophic. For the rest of the world, China's manufacturing crisis represents both massive opportunity and significant risk. While it opens space for other countries to develop their industrial capabilities and break free from dependence on the CCP, it also threatens global supply chain stability during the transition. The age of Chinese manufacturing dominance appears to be ending. What comes next will reshape the global economy for decades to come. But one thing is certain, absolutely certain: the CCP's stranglehold on global manufacturing is finally breaking. And that's something the free world should celebrate. What are your thoughts? We look forward to reading your comments. Please subscribe to Epic Economist and thank you for watching.